Yeah, so IT just as much as pieces of it stay the same, it really has changed a lot. You go through these cycles about every 5 years. Someone comes along and says, "Oh, something's going to come along and it's going to make IT providers obsolete." Whether it was at some point, a small business server came out from Microsoft and everybody's going to be able to do it themselves, and now it's AI. If anything, I think IT has gotten more complicated, not simpler. Moving to the cloud, there's still data you got to extract and interact between systems, and there's still some things that are still on-prem in the office space. Obviously, COVID and getting everybody remote was a big change. So a lot of it stays the same and a lot of it changes.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we're very excited to have our guest, Mr. Jeff Borello from Andromeda Technology Solutions. And we'll be diving into his story a little bit today, as well as what his company does and some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Jeff, welcome to the Grow IT podcast.
Drake, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Jeff, if you could kindly just, if we can kick things off, that you can introduce yourself and just tell us a quick snippet of your story.
Yeah, so as you said, Jeff Borello, I'm the CEO and a co-founder of Andromeda Technology Solutions out of Chicagoland area. Been doing this for 30 years, which is kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
Myself, my two co-founders, we're still here day to day doing our thing, still slugging it out with our team, which we really enjoy. I still get excited to get up every day. But yeah, it's been a really fun 30 years. Industry has definitely changed a lot, and there's still a lot to learn. So we're having a good time.
Excellent. Tell me, Jeff, what is it that, got into this in this business sector? What is it that like sparked your initial interest and, what you're so passionate about it?
Yeah, so myself and my two co-founders, we all worked up the street right from where we are now it was a high-tech data acquisition company right here in Lockport, Illinois, where no high-tech data acquisition company ever should have been. But
Yeah.
we all worked hard there. We worked 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. And at some point, one of us said to the other, hey, if we're going to work this hard, we should do this for ourselves. And we sat around a table one night and said, what are we good at? And we happened to take care of the internal network there at that company. And we said, let's go start an IT company. Sure, that should be easy. One of the stories I love to tell is, so our original business plan, we wrote a business plan, which unfortunately I no longer have. But I think we had like 80 or 90% of our business coming from homes. And I think to date in 30 years, we've had one home customer. So the best laid plans sometimes don't play out that way. But and really for us, the type of business probably didn't matter as much as we were passionate about helping people. That's always been our goal from day one. It's still our goal today. It's actually our company's core purpose is helping people succeed. And that's really how we started the company, and that's how we try to live our life, is just we're really here to help people, whether that's clients, our team, vendors, we're here to help. That's really our big thing.
Excellent. Tell me, Jeff, based on your expertise, like you said, I mean, you've been in this game for a long time now. What's are like the current market trends that you are aware of? What have you picked up? What way are the winds blowing these days?
Yeah, so IT just as much as pieces of it stay the same, it really has changed a lot. You go through these cycles about every 5 years. Someone comes along and says, "Oh, something's going to come along and it's going to make IT providers obsolete," right?
Yeah.
Whether it was at some point, a small business server came out from Microsoft and everybody's going to be able to do it themselves, and now it's AI. If anything, I think IT has gotten more complicated, not simpler. Moving to the cloud, there's still data you got to extract and interact between systems, and there's still some things that are still on-prem in the office space. Obviously, COVID and getting everybody remote was a big change. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of it stays the same and a lot of it changes. But I think it's gotten to a point now where you even need more expertise. Like there's still places out there just trying to do it themselves, and the business owners trying to do IT and run the business and probably 5 other hats he's wearing. It gets really hard, and you really do need that expertise, I think, to help get things done.
Tell me, having said that, what would your take be on the current market sentiment at the moment?
It was definitely a weird year this year with the whole election going on. We definitely saw some odd things happening in the market, but I would say,
Yeah,
I think there's a lot. You talk about security, and everyone hates to talk about security, and they get tired of hearing about security, but it is such a big deal. It's every small, medium enterprise level business is under attack every day, whether they know it or not. So,
yeah.
I think that's a big piece of it. I think there's so a lot of risk management that needs to happen now amongst the business, and I think you're going to see a lot of trends towards compliance, um, whether it's from the government or just businesses, insurance companies are going to start requiring these businesses to follow a bit more of a standard IT framework, and I think
Yeah.
that's going to cause some shifts in the services that people are that need to be able to get insurance or just to be able to secure themselves.
Would you say shifts like that would be, obviously for the IT market and for companies like ours, would you say that's a good move?
I think so. I think anything that you know, uh, drive security in a business, I think is good for the market in general. And I think it's the kind of service that you absolutely need an IT provider to help you with. You can't generally do it yourself. I mean, there's pieces you'll need to do yourself, but you really need someone there guiding you and really that understands what that framework is and how to get it implemented.
Jeff, you've mentioned AI, and obviously there are a couple of companies and owners that comes onto the podcast, and everybody's got an interesting take or their own view of how they see AI as a good thing or a bad thing, or where they see it's going. What would your response be? What would your take be on the current status of AI and where you think it's going?
Yeah, I think it's still very early in the hype stage for me. I think it's going to be a great tool. It's a great tool now in certain circumstances. But I think you get one market leader that gets out in front of everybody, and then everybody gets something and pushes it out sooner than maybe they should have. So,
Yeah,
I think it's extremely. I did a test last night actually with ChatGPT, which I use quite a bit, and I
yeah.
asked ChatGPT, "What do you know about me as a person?" And it spit out a lot of information on me that was pretty spot on, and it was a little
What?
scary. Yeah,
Jeez, I've
just
never
did it
done that.
from just all the interactions I had with it, right? I mean, it was like you're very concerned about people. It nailed it. It had and obviously it pulled some things I think from the internet, um, but it knew that we were in business for 30 years. It knew that we held a celebration for our employees for our 30th anniversary, which I assume I probably asked it a question at some point to help me write a speech. And so, yeah, it's a phenomenal tool as long as you're using it and you know the right way to use it. And, I think there's a lot of
Right.
chance for people to misuse it.
Yeah.
But I think again, I think these things are tools like anything else. And you just got to know when to use them and how to use them. So, but it's an exciting time for sure.
I think this is maybe a good time for you to just enlighten us about, what is it specifically what your company does?
Yeah, so IT managed service provider, right? So we provide technology solutions and services to businesses. We have a specialization in the manufacturing industry, and we have a couple different offerings. One's the traditional managed service, so places that don't have IT in-house, we're doing the full gamut for them. And then we have what we call a co-managed offering, where a manufacturer may have one or two people that do a little bit of their IT, but they just need some help. They need some projects run. They need some help staying on the cutting edge with security. So we'll come in and just kind of help out the internal IT folks, basically, for a lack of a better word. And then we just have our third offering, just network management for people that really just they have some robust network needs and they need someone to manage the wireless and the switching and all that. So um, again, it's changed a lot over 30 years. Right, way back when we started, it
Yeah.
was just somebody'd call us, something was broke, you'd fix it. So it's migrated a lot to those three offerings, and we're pretty standardized on those.
On those. You mentioned now the manufacturing industry. If you don't mind, just to elaborate a bit on that, maybe I don't know if you got a bit of a case study or just, clients where your business provides that, that value.
Yeah, so that's a fairly new change for us. We started down this path, a year and a half or so ago. Before that, we were pretty much a generalist, right? We had medical, legal, and we still do, and we will still take on those clients. But our
Yeah.
focus really now is just learning all we can about the manufacturing market.
Okay.
Yeah, and making sure we have, for example, the right strategic partners in place, ERP vendors that we can, collaborate with, and really just trying to figure out exactly what the needs are of the manufacturing industry so that we can better serve them.
Excellent. Tell me from a value standpoint, just you've obviously mentioned quite a lot already when it comes to value. But what would you say from your perspective would be like the some most significant value? That what your business bring to the table, obviously to other businesses.
Yeah, and I think, values, especially in the managed service space, because there's a lot of managed service providers out there and a lot of them look the same. So being able to, differentiate your value and really show where you're different is not an easy task these days. But for us,
Agreed.
one of our big things that we've been really trying to do with our clients is trying to figure out how to eliminate problems, right? Make it so they don't have to call us as often. There's always going to be something broken. There's always going to be something that needs fixing. But we
Yeah.
really want to make it so those recurring problems that they see over and over again, that we get rid of those. And we do that a couple different ways. One is just by proactively sending an engineer out periodically to just kind of review what's going on,
Yeah.
and try to, again, eliminate problems before they even know they have them, right? Getting old, outdated equipment out and that kind of thing. But then just really looking for patterns in tickets that come into our service desk and just issue those recurring issues that they're having, and then get down to the root cause of those and get them solved so that they can get, the client can get back to being productive, being efficient, and not having to fight the IT.
Excellent. Tell me, Jeff, in your opinion, if we can maybe look at the business industry just as a more holistically for a while. In your opinion, what type of mindset would you say is needed to be a successful founder of a company?
It's actually one of our core values, grit. You got to be able to
Well said.
fight through. There's, maybe not every day, but every week, every month, there's going to be a battle that you're going to have to fight through. That if you do not have that mental fortitude to just stick through it and figure out how you're going to solve the problem, you will just not make it. You'll get crushed.
Mm,
Business is hard. It's fun, but it's hard. And if you're not, you got to be in it for the long haul, right? There's no, I think there's a lot of stories out there of like, yeah, I'm going to work for a couple years, build up the business, and then I'm going to just let it coast on its own. Yeah, that's a myth. That doesn't happen. So I
yeah.
think you got to be in for the long haul, and you got to be willing to put in the work, and the work is hard. And there's
Yeah.
going to be tough times that you're going to want to give up. And the people that don't give up are the ones that end up being successful, whatever success means to them.
And then, what would you, if you could give some advice to regarding important things that you've learned along the way in your career up until now? I'm thinking about the younger entrepreneurs wanting to enter the market, wanting to get into the business space. If you don't mind, could you please mention maybe one or two, a couple of things that you've learned in your career?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the word learning. You got to be willing to learn. So, I've been doing this 30
Like
years and
constantly.
constantly, right? Reading
Gotcha.
books, listening to podcasts. It's really easy to think, yeah, 5, 10 years in, I've got this figured out. But
Yeah.
life is constantly changing. Business is constantly changing. The economy is changing. The clients are changing. People are changing, right? So I think that you got to be a lifelong student. And I was a terrible student, um, terrible student, but I love to learn, right?
Yeah.
So as long as it's something I can apply. So I think that's the first big thing. And then the second big thing is you got to be willing to be flexible and pivot when things change, right? So when I started 30 years ago, I was a technician. I was a geek, still am. But I studied technical stuff. And at some point, we hired staff for that, and I had to learn to transition to be, okay, now I need to learn business and I need to learn marketing. And so you got to be willing to change as things change, and you got to make sure you're not just going to pigeonhole yourself, and be willing to give things up, right? That's the other thing I think where people really struggle is, it's when you found a company and it's your baby, it's hard to give pieces of it up and learn how to delegate. So that's another part of that learning how to delegate.
Those are excellent points you mentioned. Tell me, Jeff, where can the listeners, where can they get hold of you guys?
Yeah, so obviously, I'm on LinkedIn, Jeff Borello. I'm always easily reachable there, but our website is Andromeda-tech-solutions.com. So ANDROMEDA-tech-solutions.com is a great way to find us.
Jeff, I can fully understand why you guys are so successful, and I mean, you guys got a couple of great value points that you bring to the table. Thanks for joining today. Thank you for that we could pick your mind a bit. We appreciate the contribution and very good insights. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. It was my pleasure, and it was great to engage with you on that. It was fun.
Lovely. All the best. Take care.
All right. Thank you.